Yo people, it's Fuzz here, and the 1.1 parts live and direct up inside. So we can just check the mail to see what we get for compensation. You get 300 gems for maintenance. These are some codes that I redeem, and this was, I guess, the compensation for the like translation bugs and that sort of thing. Like not bugs, but translation inaccuracies. So it was a separate reward for maintenance and a separate reward for this. So 600 gems, which is a good thing. These two codes, I will leave these two codes in the description of the video so you can redeem these. But it's basically Genshin 1111, I believe 4 ones, and Genshin Gift. But I can leave them in the description. Alright, so we can jump straight into not wishing upon that life. We can jump straight into some trying out the characters inside the trail. So apparently again a free barber, like for absolutely nothing, just logging in help you get a free barber. Or maybe I had to do something, but right, it's a quest, but I already completed it, so barber for free. Never be vexed with free things. If it is free, it is for me. Alright, so some of these characters I already played with, but these three, well, not some, like Ningguang is basically the only one that I played with already, but Childe, Diona, and Beidou. We can jump straight into trying out Childe. Our target can switch between melee and ranged stances. Alright, so we already know that Childe can switch between melee and range, so we can see exactly how these mechanics does function here now. Obviously on the E you can see that E does switch to melee. Okay. The question is it a certain amount of time or is it until you actively decide to switch back to range by pressing E again? It seems to be indefinite on the time, so you just will optionally switch back to range. So it's looking like you could play him as completely melee if you want to. Yep. Alright, we can try out the period with care. There's a long cooldown, it's a fairly long cooldown as you can see if you switch and switch back. It's a fairly long cooldown. Recheck with gear. Now this is just trial gear, but we can still check it out. Favonius Warbow. Eh. Artifacts. I guess. Alright, look here. Because luxury constellation, so the first constellation you get a decrease the radiant tide by 20%. What is radiant tide is the question. Okay, so radiant tide is the skill for switching between melee and range. And havoc obliteration is his elemental burst. Extends tide duration by 8 seconds. Right off for range. Whoa, this is excellent. Increase your own party members' normal attack level by 1. So this is actually +1 to everyone's normal attack, which is something you normally can't get bonus points into. You just get bonus points into the elemental skill and elemental burst, but not the normal attack. So this is actually quite nasty, to be honest. Having Chug on your team to get everybody in the party +1 to normal attack skill. Anyway, back to constellations. You get a 20% reduced cooldown time on the switching on the elemental skill. Okay, so when you defeat opponents affected by Riptide. So assuming Riptide is like what is Riptide? Unless this is a play Riptide, right? So normal attacks will apply Riptide. A fully charged aim shot that hits an opponent affected by Riptide deals consecutive bolts of AoE damage. So sounds fairly nasty to be honest, but we can just play with some more and see exactly how these things work. So I assume that this this thingy is the icon for the Riptide, representing for the Riptide. Yeah, chill, terrible. He's quite terrible to be honest. This is impressive. Like the AoE, the range on this on these normal slashes is quite impressive. Well, that the AoE that you're seeing is actually from the Riptide, so just hitting an enemy with this effect on them doing AoE damage, AoE water damage. It's quite impressive. This is the first character that I tried that I can actually see. Okay, so using the elemental burst actually switch it back to bow. So using the elemental burst will switch it back to bow. I don't know if it will go vice versa. Using it will switch it to melee. Obviously, we're here to try all that. So we can see if when we use the elemental burst inside range stance, if it switches us to melee stance. But yeah, he's obviously like to me, my impression so far, he's more geared towards playing as melee. Like this bow is like secondary, literally secondary. I think he actually got like a melee attack inside the bowstring. Yeah, so like the last attack in the combo string does actually be a melee strike. Quite hard to do, but let me see if it switches us to melee when we do the elemental burst inside range mode, and it does not. But yeah, Spell is quite terrible, if I do say so myself. Alright, so back to the constellations now that we understand a little more about the character. So as usual, Constellation 3 is plus 3 levels to Elemental skill. And then Constellation 4, if Tartaglia is in full Legacy, Radiant Tide's melee stance triggers Riptide Slash against opponents on the field affected by Riptide every 4 seconds. Otherwise, triggers Riptide Flash. Riptide Slashes and Riptide Flashes triggered by this Constellation effect are not subject to the time intervals that would typically apply to those Riptide effects, nor do they have any effect on those time intervals. I honestly do not really understand what this is saying, but maybe you would as you play with him or if you actually unlock it. So Constellation 6, well Constellation 5 will be plus 3 levels to the Elemental Burst, and Constellation 6, Havoc Obliteration is Chaos and melee stance. The cooldown of Foul Legacy Radiant Tide, which is the Elemental skill, this effect will only take place once Tartaglia returns to his range stance. Hmm. So basically, this saying when you use the ultimate in melee form, it would reset the cooldown of the elemental skill, which to switch it to melee form. So you'll be able to go back to melee form immediately after, if you please. So like I was saying, when you use the elemental burst in melee form, you just switch back to range form. But with this constellation, it will end the cooldown for the elemental skill, which is the E, and that would allow you to switch back to melee right away. That's nice though. Like Skull is actually impressive. Skull is actually impressive. Like he's actually like Kia's actually like a good well he died, but Kia's actually like a good peer. All right, so that is Childe Tartaglia. I'm quite impressed with him just from the trial, and the trial they're clearly not wearing the best gear. So having a Cho, a well-built Cho, is a good investment in my opinion. This melee stance is like excellent. Like Cho uses a bow, but this bow stance is literally a secondary thing to him. Secondary, like he's doing it least in this bow stance. Like most he can do in this bow stance is physical attack damage. Well, physical attack damage on the normal string and basically charge attack damage. And obviously all the skills are related to switching back to melee form, which is where all the area effect damage and the damage increases just happen. So yeah, that was my quick look at Cho Tartaglia. And just from 5 minutes or so of playing with him, I'm really impressed. He's definitely worth playing for, in my opinion.